as early as possible. If you guys are football fans and you want to go see the game, I will try to make it quick and painless. But for the rest of you, those of you that are here, if you guys wouldn't mind just going down the line, introducing yourselves and tell us where you live, because I think some people might not know each other, and then we will jump right in. So I'm Kelly. I live about an hour west of Philadelphia. Darren, go ahead.
I'm Darren McMains. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Nice. Probably much nicer weather there today than we're having here.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Mark, how about you?
Mark Howard, and I live just outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Cool. Pat?
Patrick, that's me. I live in Boulder, Colorado. Patrick Manson.
Nice. Do you have a lot of snow there?
You know, it's ice now. The fog turned into ice. Crazy.
Yeah. That's what I heard from someone, that they're not getting the snow out there they usually get.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I see Tony, but I don't see Tony. So I don't know if Tony's on or not. Tony, are you there? I see Tony's name. Do you guys see Tony's name but not Tony?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
okay. We'll see if Tony will join us. All right, Travis?
Yeah, my name is Travis Drake, and I am in Vancouver, Washington, about 5 minutes outside of Portland, Oregon.
Very cool, which I just heard on the radio the other day. Oregon is the one state in the United States, the state that more people are moving into is Oregon than any other state in the country.
I believe that.
Yes. And the state that most people are moving out of, anybody want to take a guess? More people are moving out of this state than any other?
New York.
New Jersey.
Oh.
Yeah, some trivia for you. All right, well, we're going to get started. Just as a recap, I know we haven't been together for a little while, and I saw, all the answers to all the questions came flooding in today, so I didn't have a chance to really look over them all yet. But the ones I did, I highly encourage you to go back and look through some of the answers, because especially the answers where I ask you for examples of how to use the tools, this is where I say, read through them, read through other people's stories, because it's a great opportunity to steal ideas, either for your own coaching or just to present at workshops. And it's really neat because I was down in Tampa on Friday and Saturday presenting some workshops in Tampa, and I was able to use some of the stories that you guys put out there. I forget whose story it was, but somebody said something, and I was like, oh, wait, this is a great opportunity. Someone asked me a question, and it was a baseball question, and I was like, you know what, somebody just shared, it's probably you, Darren, or somebody, but I got to share one of your stories with them, which is very cool for me to be able to do. So I encourage you highly to read everybody else's ideas, because it's a fantastic way. I always laugh that, when I was a teacher for many, many years, teachers always, take credit for things they've done, and nothing is ever genuine usually from a teacher. They've usually stolen it from somebody else. So feel free. You have my permission to steal away. All right. Well, we're going to get started with the filling the emotional tank tonight. And before we do that, I just want to do a quick recap. Every time that we go through a principle in our workshops, it's a lot of information. It really is almost like information overload. Now, Elm Tree of Mastery is one of the most involved principles that we do. So after you're finished, it's so funny because when you finish the Elm Tree of Mastery principle, usually you see the crowd go, like they're kind of glazed over, like that was a lot of stuff. And it's a lot of new information, and it's a lot of research behind it. So I always say that section's a little bit heavy. The Elm Tree of Mastery is something that is new for a lot of people, and people are jotting down notes left and right, because it's all about what? What was the goal of the Elm Tree of Mastery principle? Could you put it into like a sentence? Why is that so important? Anybody take a shot?
My thought is it's controlling what you can control.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what does that, if you can control what you can control, what does that allow the athletes to do?
Just be focused on, I guess, like what the Elm Tree states, be focused on their effort, learning from their mistakes. Mistakes are okay.
Yep. And if they
ignoring
do,
all of it,
and if they do all three of those things, what's the result going to be on the field or on the court or in the pool?
Their anxiety goes down, so it'll enhance their learning and growth.
Exactly. It'll enhance learning, it'll enhance growth, but what even more important will it enhance?
Performance.
Performance. Exactly. Performance. And the bottom line, your audience is going to come to these workshops because they want their athletes to perform better. We are definitely a performance-driven program. And not every character development program that these coaches have gone to workshop after workshop and clinics and sessions. They're not necessarily all performance driven, and that's really what makes ours a little bit different. So the Elm Tree of Mastery is non-controversial research methods on how to get your athletes to perform better. So I usually wrap up with that at the end of doing Elm Tree of Mastery. I say, okay, what's the bottom line? You get maximum effort. You get the kids to learn from people that are better than them, learn from their teammates, learn from their coaches. You also have a culture on your team that mistakes are okay. We don't want you to make mistakes, but if you do, forget about it, except the part that teaches you something. So mistakes are a learning opportunity. Therefore, increase performance. And that's sort of how I let it end. Hi, Tony. How are you?
Good. I was actually listening in, and I couldn't get my camera to work, but now we're in business.
Okay, thanks. And Tony, do you just want to tell everybody where you're from real quick?
Seattle, Washington, so just a couple hours up from Vancouver if there's no traffic.
All right, awesome. Well, we are, so that was the transition now. Now, here's how, let me show you what many rookie trainers have done over the years. They flip from, it starts with this slide is where you transition. And I'm trying to go back, and I can't go back. And it won't even go forward. Okay, there it is. All right, so this is the first slide that comes up. And I've heard many trainers say, okay, now we're going to get into the second principle, which is called filling the athlete's emotional tanks. Let me ask you, which car would you rather be driving, a full tank or an empty tank? Now, this to me, I think makes me just cringe, because to me it's just another rhetorical question. It's just a trainer kind of dragging, information out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just explain sort of what I say in my workshops, and you can choose to do it however you want to, but I think what car would you rather be driving is kind of obvious. So I don't usually start there. But again, we have the script on the slides. Some of them say, ask the audience. Okay, here's what I do. We finished up the Elm Tree of Mastery, and we've talked about performance. Now, here's my question for you. And you guys can pretend you're my audience. You can raise your hand and answer questions for me, please. How many of you have had the most perfect practice plan written out? A lot of you. How many of you, first of all, raise your hand if you write out a practice plan before practice starts? Yeah, most of you do. Okay. Have you ever had this situation where you have written out a perfect practice plan? You've got transitions. You've got everybody involved. You've got your skills defined, and you are just cranking and you're ready to go at practice. And you show up, and the athletes show up, no matter what sport you're coaching, and after the first maybe 15, 20 minutes, you realize things are falling apart. Your athletes are not motivated. They're not listening to you. You're getting frustrated. Does anybody ever had this happen? Yeah, it's happened to me a lot. And for a while there, I blamed it on the parents, of course, because the parents didn't teach the kids the right way. And what I started to learn was that one time, one of my best players, I was coaching high school lacrosse, and one of my best players, her name was Erin, and she showed up to the field one day, and she was in a mood. And she was also one of my captains. So sometimes when you get that one player that just shows up and they're in a bad place, it can really make the rest of the team crumble. And she was just she wasn't being cooperative, she wasn't being helpful, she was kind of lethargic, and finally I pulled her aside and I said, Erin, what's going on? And she said, Coach, my boyfriend broke up with me, and I'm really depressed. And I just said, oh, okay, well now I understand. What athletes have, what everybody has, is an emotional tank. And we relate it to the tank of a car. And when your emotional tank is low versus when your emotional tank is high and full, you're going to perform differently. Can somebody describe for me the behavior of an athlete who has a full emotional tank? That kid is going to show up at practice. Tell me what he or she is going to look like. What's their behavior going to be like?
They're the one that's always first in line on every drill.
Good. First in line. I love it. Mark, I heard you say optimistic. What else?
It's supporting other teammates, not just worrying about themselves.
Absolutely. Give me something else.
I'd say they listen better.
Yeah. They listen better.
They encourage the rest of the teammates.
Absolutely. Encouraging each other. Okay, who would like to sign up to coach a team of kids with totally full tanks? Yeah, absolutely. Now, conversely, tell me what kids would show up looking like if they had an empty tank. What would their behavior be like when they show up on the field or the court or the pool or track?
Last in line.
Yep. What else?
Unmotivated.
Yep.
distracted.
Mm-hmm.
Not receptive to any feedback.
You got it. Anybody ever coach a team that looked like that when they showed up?
Yep.
Yeah. So Elm Tree of Mastery, we're talking about performance. Our goal of this principle is really how do we get the kids in a state where they're going to be the most coachable and they're going to learn the most from us, have the most fun, and really be good teammates for everyone else. So what we're going to talk about today, hold on, this isn't flipping to the next one. Might have to go this way. Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is a principle called filling the emotional tank, and what I'm going to do, hopefully get that, we go. We're going to, and the slide usually says at the top, I don't know what's going on with my slides here. They're acting a little crazy. But we're going to talk about what drains the tank and what fills the tank. Here's what I'd like. Do any of you have a birthday pretty close to today? Now, what I did on Saturday was I asked who drove the farthest to get here, and that works out fine too. All right, so who's the furthest from Pennsylvania right now to me? I'm going to say Seattle or Oregon. I'm not sure which one.
Seattle wins.
Who's the farthest from Philadelphia? Okay, Seattle. Tony, you win. All right, Tony, I'm going to ask you, would you like to be the basket or would you like to be my shooter?
Oh, shooter.
All right, Tony's going to be my shooter. So, Travis, I'm going to let you be my basket. So now, if I were in a room, I'd bring Tony up. I'd bring Travis up to the front. Tony, I'm going to give you, now I use a koosh ball, a Nerf ball. I have this little splash ball that I just happened to shove in my suitcase to go down to Tampa that I used this weekend. I have used a tennis ball, and I think I've told you before that I smashed out a leg at the Hill School once, so I no longer use hard balls. Now I only use soft ones. But I also have, you know, you can bring a stuffed animal, whatever it is. So, Travis, I'm going to ask you to stand up, and I'm going to ask you to hold your arms like this, and you can be the basket. Okay? Tony, excuse me, you're going to take my ball, and you're going to be the shooter. Now, the rest of you, Patrick, Mark, and Darren, you guys are going to be the fans or the bench. You're going to be on Tony's team. Tony, first thing you're going to do is you're going to go up. Let's just pretend it's basketball. And I also can customize this to whatever sport it is. If I'm doing a baseball workshop, I've had Tony pretend he's swinging a bat, and you know, Travis will be the pitcher. Or I've had it be lacrosse where they pretend they're taking a lacrosse shot. I've done it before. Instead of Travis being a basket, I've had 2 volunteers stand up and be a soccer goal or be a lacrosse goal. You guys get the idea. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Tony, you're going to take a shot. Travis, when you get the shot, you're going to make sure that that shot goes in. Whatever you need to do to make sure that shot goes in. And the rest of you are going to fill Tony's tank. Okay, so if I were in a room of people, I would say, okay, you can stand up, you can cheer, whatever you need to do to make sure Tony's tank is filled because he just made that really hard shot. So Tony, on 3, I'm going to say shoot. You're going to shoot the ball. It's going to go in. Everybody's going to go wild. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Shoot. It goes in.
Yay! That went Tony!
All right, thank you.
Good shot, man. Nice shot,
All
buddy.
right. Nice job. How you feeling, Tony?
I feel great.
Good. What are some things you heard from your fans and your crowd? What'd you hear that pumped you up?
Oh, just positive reinforcement. Nice shot. Way to go. Clapping, cheering, facial expressions, good nonverbal and verbal.
Good. Loved it. Great. Okay, team. Now, unfortunately, Tony's going to miss the next one. And Travis, you're going to make sure that he misses the next one. And guys, your role now is going to be, you're really mad because he just lost the game for you on this shot. You're going to drain his tank. Whatever it takes, drain it. Because you want to get the message across that that was not okay and you are really angry. So Tony, on 3, you're going to go up for the shot. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Shoot. Miss.
Wow. Going
What was that, Tony? Unbelievable.
All right. Tony, how you feeling?
Not too good.
Yeah.
Let the team down.
What'd you see your team doing?
Oh, I saw verbal, nonverbal, sarcasm, covering the face, shaking heads.
Yeah. Now, Tony, next time you get the ball, maybe it's a fast break and you're running down the court and you get the ball. How are you going to feel about taking the next shot?
I'm looking to pass. I don't want the pressure.
You better believe you're looking to pass. Now, guys out there, the teammates, Darren, Mark, Pat, if Tony's afraid to take a shot and he's gun shy now because of the way you treated him, is that going to impact how you play? Is that going to impact your team?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's going to be some time when you really need to work on holding your emotions in. You're upset, you're frustrated. Nobody's more frustrated than Tony is right now. But we've got to come up with some way that we can fill Tony's tank. Now, here's what I want you to think about. This time, And this is what I do in my workshops. Again, it's silly. You guys get it. It's very dramatic. But what I'll have Tony do, I'll say, okay, Tony, I need you to hold your ears for a second. So Tony would hold his ears. And I would say to Travis, make sure he misses this shot. And I would say to the three of you, okay, you're going to fill his tank even though he's going to miss. Okay, so then I'll tell Tony, okay, let go. Tony, you're going to take another shot. Okay? Tony, when the shot goes in, everybody react the way you're going to react. Ready? 1, 2, 3, shoot. Shot and a miss. How's the crowd?
That's all right. That's all right, Tony. You got it, man. Get the
Way to take the shot. Way to take the shot.
Get him next.
That's all right, bud.
All right. How you feeling, Tony?
Look, I'll shoot again. You know, I know that people miss. You know,
Are you disappointed that you missed that shot?
disappointed, but not unwilling to shoot it again. I know my
That's
team
exactly
could be
what I'm
better.
looking for. Of course you're disappointed. You didn't make the shot. But your team had your back, didn't they?
Yep.
All right. Now, just for the crowd's sake, when I said to drain Tony's tank, did anybody hear a different level of energy in the room? Which was louder and more enthusiastic? Draining the tank when he missed or filling the tank when he missed? Which was harder to do?
It was louder to fill the tank.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Usually, I did this just, as I said, just on Saturday. I had a room of 50 coaches. When I did that exact same exercise, and you'll hear it when you have a room of a ton of people, when you ask everybody to drain the tank, the energy in the room is like, oh, man, I can't believe you were doing that. Blah, blah, blah. As soon as I say Tony's going to miss and you fill his tank, there's like a lull for a minute. And everyone's like, oh, good job. Yay. And I make that obvious to the group. This is part of our culture. In our society, when we're watching professional sports and your favorite sports team messes up, what's the first thing we're allowed to do in our society?
Boo.
Yeah, it's okay. It's actually encouraged. I'm from Philadelphia. Eagles fans are known for that.
Yeah.
We are malicious if they do bad. It's actually expected. But we know how Tony feels if his team doesn't have his back, and that's going to affect your play. So what we're going to talk about today, now, thank you very much for my volunteers. I would have Tony and Travis sit back down. Okay, now, this is another thing, talking coach to coach. When my volunteers sit back down again. Coaches, you're all youth coaches. What I've just taught you how to do is teaching a culture. You're teaching a culture of positive tank filling, even when the outcome didn't go the way you wanted it to go. Unfortunately, in this day and age, we have to teach culture. Because the default, if you don't teach culture, is what society wants us to do. Society wants you to boo. They want you to hiss. They want you to be mad at Tony. They want somebody to get revenge for Tony's terrible shot. That's not what's going to get the best performance out of Tony. So what we're going to do, and this is the next slide just for you guys, trainer to trainer. This is the next slide that tells how somebody with an empty tank and a full tank is. Tony brought it up. When I said, how you feeling? What did you hear from the audience? Tony brought up, yeah, I heard nonverbals. I heard great things, appreciation, clapping. So instead of me putting up this slide and reading off, well, draining the tank, criticism drains it, sarcasm drains it, ignoring it, nonverbals. As a trainer, I could do that. That's a lecture. But instead, I wanted Tony to bring out what he was hearing. So I don't have to go through that slide because we just did it. And Tony brought up a good example. He said all the things that you guys were doing. Does that make sense? Yes. So that's how I use the slide to support me rather than going doot, 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 doot. This is what it says. Okay. Now, let's talk about, gosh, my slides are really acting weird tonight. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Mine says nonverbals like 5 times. I don't know why it's doing that. There we go. Okay. Let's talk about what fills the tank and what drains the tank. What I want to talk about right now is what fills the tank. Now, one thing that can fill a tank more than anything else is truthful and specific praise. Tony, when you missed that shot, did you know you made a mistake?
Yes.
You did. Okay. People in the audience beside Tony, I want you to, he knows he missed the shot. He's going to beat himself up in his own little way, sort of like Jesse, the example from before. But the rest of you, even Tony, you can jump in too. What are 3 things that Tony did well? Even though he missed the shot, what did he do correctly?
It was a great shot. He was open.
He was open for the shot. Good. That's number 1. What else did he do?
His mechanics were good.
Good. Tell me about the mechanics, Mark. What did he do well?
When he shot, he extended his arm straight up, followed through with his wrist going down, and
Good.
And his footwork was proper as well.
Great, that's excellent. So the mechanics, the footwork, the follow-through was great. What's one other thing he did really well?
It was online. It just bounced out.
Good. And it could have been, if it wasn't a foul shot, maybe it was just a jump shot in a game, could it have been that you had a really strong defender on you? And the defenseman just did a great job. Absolutely. So when we talk about truthful, specific praise, I want you to think about not blowing smoke. I want you to take 2 words out of your vocabulary right now, and those 2 words together are good job. Because if Tony took that shot and he missed, and as his coach, I said to Tony, hey, Tony, good job. You'll get it next time. Does Tony really think he did a good job? No. So right now he's like, all right, my coach wasn't even watching. But what if I said to Tony, you know what, Tony, that was a tough shot, but your follow-through was great. You were right in line, and you got over. And I really think you did a great job taking that shot. That was a great opportunity. What useful information did I just tell Tony? Is there something he can use to learn from?
Oh, yeah, next time he's open to take the shot again.
Exactly. So that's what we're talking about truthful, specific praise. If I was his coach and I said the same thing to Tony, how did I express appreciation for what he just did? What did I tell him? What did I appreciate about him taking that shot?
Yeah, that he was open, that
He got open.
Yeah, there was a tough defender on him, though, but he had good follow-through.
Yep. So he hustled and he got open. So I watched him do that, and I expressed appreciation for it. And I was watching him. I was looking at him. I was paying attention. And the nonverbals. Okay, I'm frustrated. He missed the shot. I get it. But when I'm talking to him like, you know what? You might have missed the shot, but here's all the things you did well. Now, I'm picking this apart. Obviously, as a coach, you're not going to spend 20 minutes analyzing one shot that Tony takes. But I'm doing this for dramatic effect here. Anytime an athlete makes a mistake and you focus on that mistake, you're focusing on the outcome or you're focusing on the effort?
Outcome.
You focus the outcome, correct. And remember from the Elm Tree of Mastery, we're trying to focus on the effort. Now, let's go to the next slide. Here is a fantastic study. This is called the magic ratio. My computer does not want to switch to the magic ratio right now, but it's there. I promise. There it is. Okay. This was a great study that was done over the course of 20 years by a marriage counselor, some teachers, some educators, and they've all come up with, after their studies, researching behavior and relationships, they've all come up with this ratio of positives to criticisms in a certain relationship. We are trying to strive for this ratio of positives to criticisms, and it's not easy to do. But what we found is that if you can get close to this ratio, magical things can happen. Performance will improve. Kids will be coachable. They will listen to you. Marriages will last longer. Kids will learn better in school. Musicians will pick up the songs and their instruments and their skills faster. So I'm going to ask you to vote. Is the ratio every 1 positive for 1 criticism? Is it 3 positives for 1 criticism? Or is it 5 positives for 1 criticism? If you think it is 1, hold up your hand for a 1. Anybody? 1 to 1. How many of you say 3 to 1? How many of you say 5 to 1? Boy, you guys are good. You guys are really good. All right, so here's my question. I know Mark and Tony, you guys are lacrosse guys. How many kids do you have on your lacrosse team?
Oh, being humble. 25.
Okay, 25. So what I'm asking you to do during the course of a practice is give 125 positives for 25 criticisms. Do you think that's possible?
It's tough.
Probably
Yeah.
not.
Really, really tough. Not easy to do. We're actually not asking you to do it yourself. How can you elicit the help of people around you, your teammates, the parents, the fans, to get that ratio of tank fillers? We know what we need to do. Truthful, specific praise, nonverbals, expressing appreciation. How can we bring in some others to help us boost the magic ratio up? Okay, what I want you to do, and what I would ask the group to do, is take 2 minutes, and I'm going to ask you to get in a group of 5, because we're talking about 5 to 1 ratio. 5 of you together are going to come up with 5 different ways that you might have used on your team or things you're going to do on your team that could fill those kids' tanks. Okay? So I would give them 2 minutes. They break up into groups of 5. I specifically say 5 just because it sticks, but 5 is a good number because it gets a nice discussion going. So what are some ideas you have? Just bounce them around. Afterwards, I would say, okay, can somebody share from this group? Can somebody share from this group? Share from this group. So what would you guys say? What are some ideas you have?
Come up with drills where your teammates give positive feedback.
Okay, so get the teammates to do positive feedback. Great. A lot of times we can call that the winner's circle. Has anybody ever heard of the term winner's circle?
Yes.
And used a winner's circle. Okay, somebody explain to me how a winner's circle might work, or shout-out circle, or buddy system. How would you use that?
So we used it when I coached. We called it team time. So following the game on the line, and that felt a little forced. And so we would just look for good ideas after a game. Not ideas, good things that they saw from teammates that worked well during the game.
Mm-hmm. Great. And is it specific? Like you're looking for at a specific player, or are you just throwing them out generally?
So players would pick a specific player, but we would set some ground rules. We would teach the expectations of what team time looked like. So we would actually practice team time. So we couldn't use words like good effort. It had to be pretty specific. It had to be very specific to the course of the game.
Great. And you were filling tanks all over the place. Good. And then, the other thing to add on to that, too, I love shout-outs, circles like that where you're pointing out good things. Another way to make it even more involved is if one of your players says, hey, you know what I saw? I saw Travis switched hands and did an awesome left-handed bounce shot into the goal. And then I would say, okay, put your hand on your head if you saw Travis do that, too. So right off the bat now, Travis has not only had his tank filled by one person, he looks around his team and he goes, oh my gosh, 7 people noticed I did that. That's so cool. Just something quick and easy to do. All right, what's another way? That's a great one, Travis. Thanks for sharing. What's another way you can pump up, fill the kids' tanks?
We use, just again, when you're working with a kid, you always start off with a positive. If there needs to be a correction, and then you finish it with a positive. And I call it the Oreo. You want to take the Oreo sandwich approach to things, so at least you know that you're getting their attention with something they're doing well, something they can improve on. And I usually end it with the comment like, and this will help you score more goals. This will help you get more playing time. This will help you become a better player. That way there's a connection between what the correction is and how that will help them succeed.
Great. And I love that, Tony. And in PCA, we call that a criticism sandwich. And it's the same idea, Oreo or criticism sandwich. And actually, the neat thing is there's research studies to back that up. That if you put a critique in between a positive or something you notice they did well, a criticism in there, and then I love the way the last half of your Oreo or your sandwich was the why. Why are you going to change the way you do? I thought that was fantastic. Studies have shown that kids will hear it much more often. They'll understand it and they'll stick with them. Whereas if a kid comes out of a game and a coach fires 10 things they did wrong at them, they might hear one because they're sitting there thinking, man, I worked so hard, and the coach is just picking apart. And it happens a lot. I've done coach observations where at one point I saw a kid come out of the game and he had 11 criticisms to 1 positive that coach gave. And this kid was 9 years old. And I watched him sit on the bench, and you better believe his tank was drained. 11 to 1. So, as coaches, I don't think we realize we do it. Sometimes we're just jotting down in our notes, oh yeah, this is what he needs to do better. We're constantly trying to make the kids better. But what we don't realize is the greatest way to make them better is to tell them the things they're doing well and then put a critique in there, one chunk at a time. Anybody else have one to share?
I think listening is a good one as well.
Mm-hmm.
For example, it's very easy for a coach on a sideline to just give his players laundry list of, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, go there, cut this way, flash this way. What I like to do is talking to players on the bench or as they come off the field or before they go on, ask them, what do you think the defense is doing right now, Johnny? Why do you think they slid from this position? And you're kind of engaging them and getting them to explain what their thought processes are. And they feel like their opinion or their thoughts about what's going on in a game or a practice are valuable. So I think that fills their tank as well.
That's a fantastic way. And I do notice that a lot too. Not many of us as coaches actually coach the bench while the game is going on. That's a huge opportunity for you. You've got all the kids sitting there just like, I call them little puppy dogs. Anyway, my girls that I was coaching, they were always sitting there like, every time I turned around, they look at me like, yeah, coach, I'm ready to go in, ready to go in. And what a great opportunity to coach the bench. And I love the way you did that, Mark. Look at what's happening. See what's going on. Notice these things. Watch their defense so that when you go in, you're ready. Great, great, great opportunity to do it. Thank you. All right. So in my workshop, I would have, spend a couple minutes having people share. And this is where the coaches get the best ideas for how to do it. So we talk about the magic ratio, and then that's the last slide. The cool thing about the filling the emotional tanks is that there's only 5 slides. So it's really a great opportunity for you. And different workshops, I might do a few different things, but I always get them up and out of their seats. I usually do the basketball example, the shooting example. I'll do the draining the tank, filling the tank. I usually get them into a group to discuss. It's a great opportunity to kind of just have a little fun. It's smack in the middle of the workshop. So it's a really good way to get the audience kind of up and moving around and talking and discussing ideas. Now, another thing that I like to do too is to have a story. Have a story in your pocket. I have a story for each principal, and sometimes if the discussion really goes well about, they really get into the shooting example, or when we get into groups, the coaches are just, I see 20 hands up of people that want to share ways that they fill tanks, then I might not tell the story that I have for E-Tank. But if you have a story from your own experience of a time when you noticed a kid whose tank was just low, and the team really came together and filled the kid's tank, and you saw this amazing improvement in behavior, what a great time to pull that out. Another question that I ask a lot too, if we're talking about full tanks and empty tanks, a lot of times I'll do this with the athletes, and I'll throw out there, okay, before the kids or the athletes come to practice, tell me 5 things that could have drained their tank that had nothing to do with you at all. Like, think of high school kids. What are some things that could have happened to drain their tank?
Break up with a girlfriend.
Yeah, boyfriend, girlfriend. Test, I heard.
Yeah.
Say it again. I didn't hear you, Pat.
Parents yelled at them.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have to go to practice, so they'll miss a party.
Yeah, exactly.
I had one of my players one time tell me before a game that his parents just told him they were getting divorced.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
That's awful. I had a kid come to practice one time, and she was so bummed out because she went to the vending machine and she couldn't get her chicka boom popcorn or whatever, and this just like ticked her off because she was so excited about that. So it can be major things, it can be little things. But the one thing that I want you to remember as coaches is the influence that you have for those kids in that short amount of time you have them. And even if a kid shows up on your field or your court or wherever and their tank is low, you have an amazing opportunity to pump their tank up right away. Now, what I want to share now for the next couple minutes is, and I know you guys brought a lot of these answers out, but how can you make the kids laugh in the first 5 minutes of practice? How can you make them laugh and have a blast and just have a fun time?
I learned this from getting into girls lacrosse. They do goofy drills to start the game. Log rolls where the kids roll over each other. They play sharks and minnows, penny tag, all these games. I never knew I was a boys coach because I was kind of the old school boys coach where you show up and you drill. And I learned from the ladies I coach with that they always start with some fun, goofy drill, non-lacrosse related, really. This athletically related, competition related, that's fun. Yeah. And that always starts things off on the right foot. I learned a lot watching him do that.
Great. And now have you used that with boys too since then?
I haven't had a chance to coach boys in years, so I haven't had a chance to use it.
Yeah. Now, Tony, if you don't mind, I believe you were at the same U.S. lacrosse training that I was at, and there was the one woman that was talking about the athletic director at her school who coached girls and boys. I don't know if you remember this story, but one of the trainers was talking about how he was the boys' coach. He was always the boys' basketball coach. And that year of that season, for some reason, the girls' coach couldn't, had a baby or something, and he had to jump in and coach the girls. And so the wife of this athletic director came to both practices and both games and observed and said the exact same thing. Honey, I noticed when you're coaching the boys, it's all business. It's all serious. When you coach the girls, you're laughing, you're having fun, you're joking around. What's going on? And that's where that coach realized, wow, you know what? I do have a totally different mindset, kind of what you were saying. With the boys, it's all serious. With the girls, they're having fun. But if you try to take that fun and start a boys' practice, you'd be amazed. You're going to fill tanks right away. What are some other fun things that you guys can do to get your kids to just kind of ease the pressure and just laugh? Anything you do?
We would play dodgeball.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, I had an example where my high school team years ago was feeling the pressure of playoffs, so I decided to just right in the middle of practice, we kind of created our own 3-on-2 drill. We used tennis balls, and to make the story short, within a matter of minutes, the kids are laughing, they're throwing the balls at each other, they're just goofing around, and it totally broke all the pressure, and just let these high school kids have fun for a few minutes. It really
Yeah.
worked.
Great. Excellent. I always tell the story too. When I was a sophomore, I made the varsity basketball team, and it was our very first, after tryouts, it was our very first varsity practice, and I was a wreck because this was a new male coach coming in. He taught in the Catholic school leagues for years, and we heard he just runs us into the ground. He was really tough. Well, we showed up the first day of practice, and everybody was kind of a wreck, and he had scooters, those old gym scooters, all over the basketball court, and we played scooter basketball for the first 10 minutes. And it was so much fun. The only rule was you couldn't shoot. You had to sit on your scooter while you had the ball. So it was a blast. And that was my first experience with high school basketball. And I was like, this is awesome. It just set the tone for everything. And I'm telling you, I never worked harder in my life. You try to shoot a foul shot from a scooter, it is difficult. Worked on my form and everything. It was great. But it was just something that I think sometimes when we get into the higher competitive teams, the travel teams, the high school level, we forget that fun is a great tank filler. And as some of you said, athletically, some of these games are fantastic, and the kids get more competitive. And so it can just set the tone for the drill. So I don't want you to discount that. All right, well, to wrap it up, I'm going to actually, you guys are going to love me for this one. I'm going to end a little early because if you guys don't have any questions, I got to let Travis go see his Oregon team win. But no, I am pretty much, that is the content. I could go on and on and on and tell more stories and fill your tanks up and all this stuff. If you want to hear them, I'd be happy to share them. But I really do think have a story in your pocket, have an activity, and really just push the idea home with these coaches that they have so much of an influence. The kids' attitudes, the emotional tank is equivalent to emotional intelligence. The way studies have shown that all things being equal, emotional intelligence is so important, almost more important than academic intelligence. And the way to get the kids to be an emotionally intelligent level is to fill their tanks, but you don't have to do it alone. So I'm going to stop there. If you guys have any questions or anything you'd like to add, feel free. But that's what I have for now.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you.
You are very, very welcome. The one thing, while I do have you guys on the call, I'm trying to get kind of a head count. Monday is Martin Luther King Day. So I didn't know if you guys were up for doing the call on Monday night. I like to keep it Mondays and Thursdays, but I didn't know if people were going to be away or if that was difficult. If that's a bad night for you guys because it's a holiday, I can bump it to Tuesday, which is fine, or another night. Or is that okay?
It's okay with me.
I'd rather keep it on Monday.
Keep it Monday? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm fine with that as well. And you guys, I don't know, you guys don't usually get on the Thursday afternoon one, but I'm going to have to switch next week. I'm doing the National Soccer Convention is in Philadelphia next Thursday, and I'm one of the keynote speakers, so I'm going to have to bump that a little bit back on Thursday. Hey?
Hey, congrats.
Thanks.
Nice
Yeah, I'm excited about it. They picked the only trainer that's never played soccer. So, should be fun. I'm doing U.S. lacrosse in the following weekend, so that'll be better for me, but yeah, that's what I was laughing. I'm like, I'm probably one of the only trainers in the area that has never played soccer, so should be fun. Well, thanks, guys, very much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.